We are previewing UFC 163 here at SBRForum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak, and we are joined by our returning guest, Nick Kalikas from MMA oddsbreaker.com. And now we're going to talk about Phil Davis and Lyoto Machida. Now, Machida is the #1 light heavyweight contender. He's minus 350 over Davis. He's 35 years old, kind of getting on in years. He wants to get the title again. Davis, of course, had a bad loss, and then he's fought a bunch of non-ranked fighters, so his stock has kind of dropped. Machida appears to have, a significant edge here. I'm just wondering if you think this fight is more likely to go to the distance, or if you think that eventually Phil Davis will make a mistake and get caught.
Well, the line right now is around 350. I opened it actually under 3-1. I think, believe it or not, it's going to sound crazy because everybody seems to be on the same page with this fight, that it's going to be an easy fight for Machida. I don't think it's going to be easy as most think because if he doesn't get the finish, I think that Phil Davis has a shot to make this an interesting decision. If you look at Machida's last few fights, I mean, those that went to the cards have been close, relatively close, even if they've been bad decisions, because Machida's movement and the way his striking is, precise striking and technique, actually scores and lands a lot more than he probably gets credit for. But sometimes aggression, people moving forward, get more credit than they deserve in these situations, especially if they're matched up with a fighter like Machida. So if Phil Davis doesn't get finished here, I know he probably will struggle getting the takedowns because Machida's takedown defense is pretty damn good. Right. But he's still going to be probably the one coming forward. Now, again, Machida has a good chance of picking him apart, maybe landing that KO blow that everybody expects to happen. But if not, again, Phil Davis is going to be the one pushing forward. Judges are really bad, even if Machida's landing more. That's a scary part about laying 3-1 or higher on this fight, in my opinion, because Machida's kind of lost, again, those split decisions to fighters that have the same kind of pattern that Phil Davis is going to bring here.
All right, yeah, so that's why I'm thinking that maybe over 2.5 rounds at minus 195 at 5 dimes might actually be a great way to bet this fight.
It's possible because, like I said, Phil Davis is a tough guy. I mean, he's going to be hard to stop. He hasn't been finished yet. He's been, really the worst beating he took was in the hands of Rashad Evans, but that was a 5-round fight, and he made it definitely. He lost a lot of stock in that fight because he got dominated as bad as he did against Evans, but he made it the distance, took a beating like a man, and I think he's actually improved from that fight. A lot of times, bad performances can make you improve, and I think that's exactly what you're seeing in Phil Davis. Now, is he going to be ready for Machida, especially in Brazil? I don't think so. I mean, it seems to me, like everybody else, that they're basically feeding Phil Davis to Machida, give Machida another win here, and eventually line him up for another shot against John Jones. Because in my opinion, Machida is the #2 light heavyweight in the world. He's been for a while. That's how good the guy is. So, yes, it's going to be a difficult fight for Phil Davis. No, I would not lay 3-1 to find out if Machida is going to knock him out or not.
Right. I mean, their fighting style. They're both elusive. They're patient. They wait for their opponent to sort of make a mistake. And I don't see how this one's going to end inside the distance.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like I said, the ability that Machida has on the feet is remarkable. I mean, he's one of the best. He might not be the flashiest striker, but he's completely outclasses most on the feet. I mean, like I said, it's not a fun style sometimes. Most people would actually think it's boring. But his precision and his striking and the power, his timing, everything about it makes that possible for him to KO anybody, even a guy like Phil Davis that has not been finished before. So I think that there is that chance that everybody thinks, like I said, but you're right, man. I mean, both these guys are tough. Both these guys tend to be tentative at times. So that does scare me a little bit with Machida. All
right, so you opened it, you said, at about minus 300, so you've gotten some early action on Machida?
Yeah, everybody, like I said, I think it's just a terrible matchup for for Phil Davis, and it's hard to argue that again because if he doesn't get the takedowns, then Machida should be able to outstrike him on the feet. So that's what everybody thinks. But the judges, they play a bigger impact on many fights than people think. So that's what concerns me for sure.
So it sounds like you might be needing Davis big time in this one then.
Well, I think so, yeah. We're definitely going to need Phil Davis. Again, he's going to get some straight love as well, but with parlays and the straight bets that we're going to get on Machida, we're probably going to need Phil Davis come through. It's going to be a task, though. I mean, I'm sure the books are probably going to lose a little bit here this fight because I do think Machida is going to come away with the win, but I'm hoping I'm wrong and Phil Davis does get maybe a controversial decision win.
So do you anticipate that, closer to fight time that you'll get some big, sharp action on Davis as a big underdog?
Well, I think the only way the sharps would bet this fight is to bet the underdog. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but again, I mean, it's just the way these guys match up in the state of MMA judging that I've said on this show and several other shows is true. You cannot avoid that. Judging is so bad. I mean, just this past weekend, we saw a couple decisions that went 30-27, split decisions that went 30-27 the wrong way. Right. So you cannot deny how bad judging is. I mean, they're awful. Dana White's always tweeting about it. So that's one of the hardest parts for me personally as well about betting MMA is realizing or really leaving it in the hands of judges sometimes. I hate when that's the case, that fights do go to decision, and it tends to happen a little bit more now as the fighters are developing a little bit more and just getting a more well-rounded skill set. We're seeing more decisions. That's why, and we're leaving it in the judges' hands, which, I mean, those guys aren't qualified to judge, I think, a tournament fight, a point karate fight, let alone a real UFC fight.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're making me think that over 2.5 at -195 might be a great bet then.
Yeah, I mean, in case of a bad decision, I think that's probably the way to go with this fight, because, like I said, I do expect Lyoto Machida to come away with a win here, but I don't think he's going to probably finish Phil Davis, and if that's the case, the over wins you, even a bad decision.
All right, I like it. I like it a lot. Thanks so much, Nick.